June 19th is a date set aside for Global Sickle Cell Awareness. Now, sickle cell disease imposes on those who have this condition a life experience of intense physical pain, amongst other symptoms. It also causes a huge mental toll and economic challenge to everyone it affects, including parents and caregivers. It is a good thing that this condition has a chance to be brought to the forefront. However, I believe that more can be done to rouse the awareness, especially because millions are affected globally, being highly prevalent in certain regions across the globe. Through its awareness, we're not only able to recognize this condition, we can identify if we're part of a community that is at risk, hence recognizing the importance of knowing our blood hemoglobin genotype, a marker of this condition, to make conscious and intentional decisions regarding those who we choose to partner and procreate with, and should couples at risk choose to go on making families, they too can take steps based on awareness that could decrease the possible challenges brought on by this condition. The question is, do you know your blood hemoglobin genotype? Hi, I'm Dr. Francisca Osage. Thank you for joining me on Francisca on Health Matters. So what is sickle cell disease? Sickle cell disease is a disorder of the red blood cells arising from gene alteration or mutation, creating an abnormal hemoglobin, mostly hemoglobin S or hemoglobin C, hemoglobin being the protein within the red blood cell essential for oxygen transport. When these affected red blood cells lose oxygen, they are easily transformed from a disc-like shape, which keeps them flexible, easily moving through small vessels, to rigid, sickle-shaped cells. Thus, when channeling through tiny vessels, they easily clog on each other and cause obstruction to blood flow, which leads to deprivation of oxygen delivery to tissues, and these cells then become exposed to breakdown by the body's defense cells, which worsens anemia, a complication of this condition. So how does this manifest? The effect is multisystemic, with problems arising as early as 6 months of infancy, when cells with the abnormal hemoglobin become the predominant red blood cell type in circulation. Parents start to notice a highly irritable and fuzzy or inconsolable baby. And with time, other signs develop, such as swollen hands and feet, the enlargement of the forehead. As the child grows, episodes of pain crisis become more apparent, and if precautions are not taken, these crises become more frequent, and unfortunately, this becomes an experience for the child going into adulthood. The immune system becomes compromised as the body tries to adjust to this challenge, and people faced with this condition become easily prone to certain infections. Other complications may arise as the individual matures. Now, apart from episodes of pain involving joints and other areas of the body, older children might develop leg ulcers. Problems involving abnormalities with vision are not uncommon. There's easy formation of gallstones, and other problems arising from compromised blood flow, such as development of stroke, and in men, spontaneous painful erections are also not uncommon. Now, how is this inherited, and which are those communities with known high prevalence? This condition is highly prevalent within communities of African descent. Example, in the US, of 100,000 persons affected by sickle cell disease, 90% are non-Hispanic Blacks or African Americans, 3 to 9% being Hispanic or Latino. However, globally, millions of people are affected by sickle cell disease, 80% being from sub-Saharan Africa, and other regions affected include India, Southern Europe, West Asia, and North Africa. Now, how is this condition inherited? Now, this is important to note because many individuals within risk communities are carriers of the abnormal hemoglobin. And presently, due to migration and interracial marriages, this trait has become widespread, involving non-native communities. And nothing wrong with this trait. People that are carriers of the abnormal gene, for most part, live healthy and rarely experience symptoms. Sickle cell disease is a condition passed through the genes of both parents who both must have the abnormal gene and a pre-existing sickle cell condition. It must also be noted that the offspring is not 100% deemed to have the condition, but has an increased probability when compared to the ordinary population. And this highlights the importance of every individual of communities that are easily at risk to know what their status is, especially before procreating. And that is why genetic counseling is highly encouraged before procreation within communities of high prevalence. Screening of both unborn babies, especially when parents are carriers, and the newly delivered infants are available and recommended. However, if already dealing with sickle cell disease, these steps will become essential. Ensure adequate hydration and be mindful of exposure to certain conditions. Examples: extremes of temperature. Avoid stress. Keep to a lifestyle that wouldn't cause an overwhelming circumstance. And this might mean avoiding certain exercises, sports, and even certain occupations. Avoid any exposure to infections. Now, children are administered penicillin until they get to age 5. Nutrition with a balanced diet is very important. However, supplementing with folic acid is recommended. Keep up to date with vaccines. And don't forget immunizations against H. influenza, pneumococcal, and meningococcal bacteria. The use of therapies such as hydroxyurea can help to reduce the occurrence of pain crisis. Prescription pain meds such as opioid derivatives will be needed during pain crisis. With all that being said, there is hope. With continuous research, there's the emergence of certain therapy addressing the root cause. The FDA-approved Casgevy, or CRISPR, a DNA-modifying treatment which eliminates the abnormal hemoglobin formation. Currently, this treatment is unaffordable due to its very high cost, especially to communities that will highly benefit from it. So I'm hoping the big pharmas can take actions that can lead to the availability and affordability within these various communities. Again, I hope you found this informative and educative, and if you've had, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.